I'm sure we've all gone and seen movies specifically for one or two actors that were starring in it. We're big fans of these actors, we want to see everything they do. But what if it then became the opposite of that? What if there were certain actors that we know from the get-go are going to ruin a perfectly good movie? I don't know why I'm saying this is a hypothetical, it's very, very real. I'm Amy from What Culture, and here are 10 actors who will definitely ruin upcoming movies. 10. Armie Hammer, Death on the Nile. In the case of Armie Hammer and Death on the Nile, the damage has very clearly already been done, and it has nothing to do with the movie itself and everything to do with Hammer. Kenneth Branagh's second entry into his Poirot movie franchise was shot way back in late 2019, but unsurprisingly, as most things were, it was hit with extensive delays, during which time allegations of extensive sexual abuse were levelled against Hammer. As the allegations flooded in, Hammer was cut loose from several film projects and dropped by both his publicist and his talent agency. Understandably, this wasn't great PR for the film, and so they made the very brave and moral decision to just bury it until this all blows over. Thing is, stuff like this just doesn't blow over. With the size of Hammer's role making it near impossible to reshoot, there's little choice but to release the movie as is. As such, Hammer's front and centre presence will unavoidably cast a dark shadow over a film which is clearly supposed to be a fun, escapist mystery thriller. The film's inevitable commercial underperformance could end up killing the entire Poirot movie franchise, as it's tough to imagine Disney splashing the cash on a third film if this one tanks. And so, Hammer may not just ruin a single movie, but derail a whole franchise. Oh, and allegedly countless women's lives, but you know, since when does Hollywood care about that? 9. Kevin Hart, Borderlands. Casting decisions don't get much weirder than hiring Kevin Hart, the diminutive funny man himself, to play badass, mostly humorless soldier Roland in Eli Roth's upcoming adaptation of the hit video game Borderlands. Whilst Kevin Hart has promised fans that his Roland won't be a quippy, punny nightmare, it's still incredibly difficult to bridge the mental gap between the character archetype Hart has made his money on and Roland, who is so totally the opposite. That's not to say that Hart isn't capable of playing against type, but so much of his career is centered around his short stature and generally unintimidating presence that it's difficult to picture him bringing the necessary grit or attitude to the part. Many fans naturally felt he would have been a much better fit to play the pint-sized comic relief bot Claptrap, a role which has been instead given to his Jumanji co-star Jack Black. Admittedly, the cast and crew for Borderlands is an absolute oddball bunch, and it's kind of difficult to imagine that this movie's going to be anything other than a total mess. 8. Mark Wahlberg, Uncharted. It is one of life's greatest mysteries why Mark Wahlberg hasn't been cancelled and kicked to the curb yet. If not for his questionable past, then at least for his generally poor acting ability. People have been quite resistant to the idea of Tom Holland playing young Nathan Drake, but even more so to Mark Wahlberg playing Nate's mentor Sully. Beyond the fact that he bears little physical resemblance to Sully from the games, Wahlberg hasn't ever proven that he has the necessary gruffness to convincingly play the part. From the underwhelming first trailer, it seems like we're more likely to get Wahlberg playing Wahlberg again. And whilst it's understandable that this version of Sully won't be quite as old and weary as he was in the games, he isn't really recognisable as the character at all. Wahlberg's casting feels like a cynical calculation, given that his name sells well across the globe, rather than him actually being well suited to the role. Ironically, Wahlberg was actually up for the role of Nate himself more than a decade ago, when David O. Russell was attached as writer-director. 7. Timothée Chalamet, Wonka. While there's a fair discussion to be had about whether we need a Willy Wonka musical prequel movie at all, casting Timothée Chalamet as a young Wonka is basically the most obvious and predictable thing Warner Bros. Could have done, and I hate it more than anything. Though Chalamet is unquestionably a talented actor, that doesn't mean he's right for the role, and considering how iconic the character is, that's no slight against him. The first official image of Chalamet dressed as Wonka looks like an above-average cosplay, but it's less convincing that he'll be able to channel the energy and charm of a man who will eventually become Gene Wilder. People generally think that he's too sexy and not unhinged enough. His casting certainly makes sense from a commercial perspective, given that Chalamet has a wide appeal, but it's difficult to think that this is an actual inspired fit on purely creative terms. It'd be great to be wrong, but it's smart to keep your expectations low for this one, no matter the talented cast and crew involved. 6. Letitia Wright, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Production on the upcoming Black Panther: Wakanda Forever was always going to be challenging following the untimely death of the incredible Chadwick Boseman. It's been damn near confirmed that T'Challa's sister Shuri, played by Letitia Wright, will take up the Black Panther mantle in the sequel, which, whilst a natural decision in pure narrative terms, has resulted in a significant fan backlash. Last year, Wright was criticised for her anti-vax views during the pandemic, and despite quitting social media following the fallout, as well as splitting from her PR reps in the US, it's more recently emerged that Wright WRIGHT, who reportedly isn't vaccinated, has allegedly continued to cause trouble on set. The ultimate point is that her conduct means that fans aren't going to embrace her readily as the new Black Panther. Actors aren't obliged to match the virtuousness of their movie roles off-screen, but given that Marvel's superheroes are beacons of inspiration for millions, it's an incredibly bad look for WRIGHT. 5. Mads Mikkelsen. Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. In November 2020, Johnny Depp resigned from the role of the villain Grindelwald after losing a defamation case and being asked to step down by Warner Bros. At the time, he had only shot one single scene, but he was still paid his entire salary, and once he was gone, Mads Mikkelsen was announced as his replacement a few weeks later. Now, nobody's going to argue that Mads Mikkelsen is anything less than an incredibly talented actor, but it's also unavoidable that Potter fans invested in Depp's portrayal of the character are going to balk at the change. Even though we've seen Grindelwald change his appearance before, Depp's absence will continually remind fans of the unceremonious nature of his departure, and that's a tough mental hurdle to clear. In purely objective terms, Mikkelsen will deliver a fine performance, but this is basically a no-win situation for the actor, and his mere presence instead of Depp's will leave many fans unhappy. 4. Jared Leto, Morbius. It's well known that Leto brings a wealth of personal baggage with him to basically any role, which, while perhaps not excessively distracting for a slushy, hammy role like Paolo Gucci in the House of Gucci, is a little trickier in a franchise-baiting superhero film like Morbius. Clearly, Sony cast Leto as Michael Morbius in the hope that he could build a successful franchise, which would in turn dovetail into the studio's wider Spider-Man universe. However, it's difficult to picture an actor of Leto's infamy ever fully blending into the role of the vampiric superhero. Given Leto's wildly mixed perception among the general public, the film will need stellar reviews to overcome it, and given what the trailers have shown so far, that seems unlikely. Considering the many actors who could have played Morbius instead, this is probably a casting choice that's going to come back to bite him. 3. Brian Hull, Hotel Transylvania, Transformania. The fourth Hotel Transylvania film is, like many animated films released during the pandemic, going direct to streaming and skipping a classic purely cinematic release. While that makes enough sense given the situation with children and vaccines around the world, less understandable is the decision to recast Count Dracula. Drac, who was played with goofy relish by Adam Sandler in the first 3 films, has been replaced for the new sequel by Brian Hull, a popular YouTube voice actor and impressionist. Though Hull is clearly a skilled impressionist and previously doubled for Sandler in the Monster Pets short film, Sandler's absence combined with the streaming release is sure to set alarm bells ringing for many fans of the franchise. All in all, it suggests that the film is a lesser entry to the series because Sandler's not there. It's not a good look for a film when it can't bring back a man who's known for never turning down a paycheck. Look, the Hotel Transylvania movies aren't high art or anything, but don't be surprised if the perfect storm of factors results in this sequel coming and going without making a dent with audiences or critics. 2. Chris Pratt, Mario. Back in September, Nintendo announced the main voice cast for their upcoming Mario movie, and the internet promptly lost its shit. The most objectionable announcement by far was Chris Pratt being cast to play Mario, a majorly head-scratching choice which felt less like picking the best actor for the gig than finding someone with the most broad, unremarkable voice possible. Like, I know you've got to sell to a wide demographic, but good God. Many felt that the role should and would naturally go to the long-serving Mario voice actor Charles Martinet, but instead casting someone as vanilla as Pratt, who is neither Italian nor sounds anything like the video game Mario, is so silly it feels like an actual joke. Producer Chris Meledandri has since confirmed that Pratt will indeed not be doing the Mario voice. Read, he won't be doing a bad Italian accent. And while the rest of the cast makes more sense, having Pratt's voice at the front and centre could ruin the whole thing. It all just marks another step towards scrapping real voice actors altogether and bringing in A-list names, which all just seems absolutely soulless if you ask me. 1. Amber Heard, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. In light of Johnny Depp's dismissal from the third Fantastic Beasts film, there have also been calls for Depp's ex-wife Amber Heard to be booted from the upcoming Aquaman movie. Depp wasn't the only one in their relationship to be accused of abusive behaviour, and evidence and accusations levelled against Amber are just as vile. It seems rather bizarre then that the media has widely chosen to forget about Amber's trespasses, as has the film industry. Obviously in Depp's case, he weathered the additional storm of losing a defamation case, which made it much easier for Warner Bros. To ask him to leave. Whilst Heard hasn't quite suffered the same blow to her reputation. Despite campaigns for Heard to be axed, producer Peter Safran confirmed earlier this year that Heard is sticking around for the sequel in an attempt to do what's right for the film. So when Aquaman 2 releases late next year, she will indeed reprise the role of Mera, a not remotely iconic part that many fans felt could have easily been recast without causing any upset. Whether or not possible boycotts will actually do anything to move the box office needle, Heard's involvement adds a massive weight of baggage around the movie's neck and is sure to create some major headaches for Warner Bros. Whilst promoting the film. And with that, we've reached the end of this list of 10 actors who will definitely ruin upcoming movies. Which of these movies do you think is going to be the worst, and who is going to ruin it for you? Let us know in the comments down below. And in the meantime, remember to check out whatculture.com for more lists and articles like this every single day. As always, I've been Amy from What Culture, and I'll catch you next time.